What's going on, you guys? Lit Man Tuck is back in the building, and I wanted to do a book review on book 5 of War Aeternus. And golly, first book I said is my favorite book. Book 4, I was like, oh, this is my favorite one. But now I want to say this is my favorite one. Right off the bat, it started off very dark, and so like for me personally, I like when characters start off okay and then they go dark. Well, Augustus, the god of Lee's descendant, man, at the beginning of the book, that fool went dark. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you about this one because I don't really think it spoils the story. Because even though it was significant, it was just a lot more to the story after that. So right off the bat, Augustus is talking to another god named Sword, and he found out that Sword helped set his daughter up. So Augustus had a daughter, and she was in the game, and she was set up, she was tortured and all that good stuff. But Sword was one of the people responsible for it. So, you know, Augustus basically killed him, and the way he did it, man, like they explained it. And I mean, he went from this joking god, shifting shapes and always joking around, the god of drink and alcohol. But come to find out, you know, well, I'm not gonna tell you who he's the god of, but he basically took Augustus's identity. So the actual god Augustus has been obliterated by that Augustus, and he stole his identity, and he's been rocking with it for all these millennia. And so anyway, like, man, in that part, he basically, the guy tried to talk, he punches him in the mouth, and he says something to the effect of, "I'm tired of your tongue wagging." And the guy's jaw was broken, his tongue was hanging out, and he reached in, grabbed his tongue, and just yanked it out. And man, that was like, that's how the book started. And so it went on from there. In the book, Lee, he also, you know, was fighting his own war. You know, he's getting caught up in the dream world again. He tries to get back with his girlfriend, Marcia, and so to make her happy, he goes about his business in the regular world. So he's not in the magical world, he's in the regular world. He can still use some of his powers, and he started going to hospitals, and he used his healing ability. He was healing stuff like cancer, you know, like stuff where people are on their deathbed. He started healing people, and within like a couple of hours, his grandmother, who's also a god, she found out. She came, scooped him up, put him into the limo, him and Marcia, and she's the one that broke the news that Augustus is his actual father, not his descendant, his actual father. And Lee is like, what in the world? So he's dealing with that information. Marcia was there. She's all bent out of shape and upset. So she bails on him again. And man, there's other stuff that I feel like I don't want to say because it will spoil it. And then towards the end, you know, Lee, he gets put into something that's, to me, is equivalent to the hyperbolic time chamber. He gets caught in the dream, but his intelligence score is so high because each herald gets a special talent and a special ability from the gods that they get their powers from. And Augustus, his main thing is intelligence. So Lee has a ridiculous amount of intelligence, while some people have about 80, 90 intelligence. His intelligence is all the way up there to like 250 or 300. So he's caught in the dream, and because his intelligence score is so high, the woman, she's able to hold him in that dream world for a long period of time. And so he was caught into that dream. I have to go back in the book and check it out, but I think for like 50 to 100 years, and all he was doing was just fighting the whole time. But he was actually in the dream just for like a day or two. So when he got out, he had all this new knowledge and new skills, and come to find out that this woman, that this herald that held him in the dream, she kind of did it for his benefit. She ended up getting killed, and you know, Lee loves her now, even though she tortured him and held him in. It's so much happening to the book, and I'm not even talking about the last person that Lee had to go up against, because he goes against these heralds. He has to find ways to beat them. The last person hates heralds, and this guy's not even a herald. And I'm not gonna spoil that part, man. You just got to get the book and check it out. You know, Jade is her usual self. She's being really funny. Walking around, still looking at the world as if they were all just NPCs. And I also want to make a Conan connection alert. So one of my favorite books of all time is the Conan, or one of my favorite characters is Conan the Barbarian. And that pretty much led me into Game Lit. Robert E. Howard, he's an author from the 30s. And So he has this book, or excuse me. So let me back up. So there's one part at the beginning where Augustus, the god, he's killing these other gods and he's punishing fools because his daughter was tortured. So the daughter of a god was caught, and basically she was a very sweet girl. Well, there's a series out. It came out in 1997. Conan the Adventurer series, and it's kind of cheesy, but I love it. I've watched it over and over. And when I reread the book, I was like, I made that connection. So in the actual Conan, so I call it a Conan connection. You can call it a connection. All right, wah wah. But anyway, so in that series, I think it's episode 6. It's called like the Curse of Africa, and Conan, he goes in there with his people, and they're looking for stuff. And there's this god who lives all alone, and he's getting ready to kill Conan, but he sees one of his fighting mates who is a woman, and he looks identical to his daughter. And so he calmed down and he told the story about how his daughter was a very sweet child, but you know, the other guys were jealous. The other guys was jealous of her, so they held her down, they tortured her, they brutalized her. And so like right when I read that part, it was like that connection. So I like making connections between game lit that comes out now and stories from Conan the Barbarian that was made in the 30s. And there's no, like, nobody's like copying anybody, but it's crazy how Robert E. Howard was so ahead of his time, like in the 30s. There was no such thing as games and gamelit and all that, but a lot of his characters and a lot of the way his stories came about, it lines up with a lot of stories and monsters that comes out now, man. So anyway, that was just a little random connection and an extra Scooby snack for the review. But book 5, War Aeternus, like my favorite part is the god Augustus is not who you think he is, and he gets really dark and he's very powerful. And Lee, you know, he's desensitized, but he's still trying to hang on to his humanity. Jade is up to her usual stuff. She makes flesh golems, and she made a new form of that. And then you see her powers growing and other ways she uses her powers. And also all the other characters that come along. So Lee has an army. His general is very intelligent, so you will see some great tactics used by his generals and all that, man. It's lots of fun. So make sure you check out the book. I got you know, a description down in the descriptions. And so I will see you next time for the next series.